decided to establish this sort of regime and to kill the unwanted persons who have nothing to do with his plan. The Battle of Kurukshetra was fought according to the plan of the Lord, so that undesirable persons could get out of the world and the peaceful kingdom under his devotee could be established. The Lord was therefore fully satisfied when King Yudhishthira was on the throne and the seeding of the dynasty of Kuru in the person of Maharaja Parikshit was saved. Hare Krishna.
So here, the plan of Lord is to remove all the undesirable persons. That's why even if you see the first verse of Bhagavad Gita, Dharma Kshetri Kurukshetri Samaveta Yusavade, there about the Kshetra, the last verses, if you see, last paragraph of the purport, very clearly it has been stated by Srila Prabhupada. The Kshetra means a field where unwanted plants which grow, unwanted plants, they are removed because they're a good crop. The bad crop has to be removed. The weeds have to be removed. So the Kauravas are compared to the weeds. They are the unwanted, that means they are not following the dharma. Okay. Vishamya bhishmoktam atha chutoktam pravritta vijnana vidhuta vibhrama shashasagamindra ivajitashraya paridhyupanta manujanuvartitah. So after listening to Bhishmoktam, whatever spoken by Bhishma Deva, Achyutaktam, which was spoken by the infallible Lord, and also by Lord Krishna, Pravritta being engaged in Vijnana, he is perfect in knowledge, Vidhutaha, completely washed off, Ivibhrama, all the misgiving, Shashas, this way he is ruled, Gama, the earth, Iva means like Indra, the king of the heavenly planet, Ajita Ashrayaha. Ajita Ashraya is very much important. Taking shelter of Lord. A ruling cannot be done on his own strength. Whatever administration is done under the shelter of Lord, Paridhi Upantam, including the seas, Anuja, the younger brothers, and Vrittaha being followed by them. Yudhishthira Maharaj, along with his brothers, ruled the kingdom very nicely. He ruled over the earth, he ruled over the seas, and he was followed by his younger brothers. All his misgivings were completely eradicated by listening to the wonderful instruction given by Bhishma Deva as well as Lord Krishna. Okay, you see how much Prabhupada has put the effort in making us understand this verse. Every verse Prabhupada justifies. That's why Prabhupada's purports are very, very important. And we give more time to read the purport. Kamalakshi Mataji, please read.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Nisamya Bhishmoktam Achyutoktam Pravarta Vijnana Vidutta Viprama Sashashakam Indra Eva Ajita Shraya Parityupantam Anuja Anuvartitaha. Translation purport by Srila Prabhupada teacher. Translation. Maharaja Yudhishthira, after being enlightened by what was spoken by Bhishma Deva and Lord Sri Krishna, the infallible, engaged himself in matters of perfect knowledge because all his misgivings were eradicated. Thus he ruled over the earth and seas and was followed by his younger brothers. Purport. The modern English law progenitor or the law of inheritance by the firstborn was also prevalent in those days when Maharaja Yudhishthira ruled the earth and seas. In those days, the king of Hastinapura, now part of New Delhi, was the emperor of the world, including the seas up to the time of Maharaja Parikshit, the grandson of Maharaja Yudhishthira. Maharaja Yudhishthira's younger brother were acting as his ministers and commanders of state. And there was full cooperation between the perfectly religious brothers of the king. Maharaja Yudhishthira was the ideal king of representative of Lord Sri Krishna, the rule over the kingdom of earth, and was comparable the King Indra, the representative ruler of the heavenly planets. The demigods like Indra, Chandra, Surya, Varuna, and Vayu are representative of kings of different planets of the universe. And similarly, Maharaja Yudhishthira was also one of them, ruling over the kingdom of the earth. Maharaja Yudhishthira was not a typically unenlightened political leader of modern democracy. Maharaja Yudhishthira was instructed by Bhishmadeva and the invaluable Lord also, and therefore he had full knowledge of everything in perfection. The modern elected executive head of the state is just like a puppet because he has no kingly power. Even if he is enlightened like Maharaja Yudhishthira, he cannot do anything out of his own goodwill due to his constitutional position. Therefore, there are so many states over here quarreling because of ideological differences or other selfish motives. But a king like Maharaja Yudhishthira had no ideology of his own. He had but to follow the instruction of the invaluable Lord and the Lord's representative and the authorized agent. Bhishma Deva, it is instructed in the Shastras that one should follow the great authority and the infallible Lord without any personal motive and manufactured ideology. Therefore, it was possible for Maharaja Yudhishthira to rule the whole world, including the seas, because the principles were infallible and universally applicable to everyone. The conception of one world state can only be fulfilled if we can follow the infallible authority. An imperfect human being cannot create an ideology acceptable to everyone. Only the perfect and the infallible can create a program which is applicable at every place and can be followed by all in the world. It is the person who rules and not the impersonal government. If the person is perfect, the government is perfect. If the person is a fool, the government is a fool's paradise. That is the law of nature. There are so many stories of imperfect things or executive heads. Therefore, the executive head must be a trained person like Maharaja Yudhishthira, and he must have the full autocratic power of rule over the world. The conception of a world state can take shape only under the regime of a perfect king like Maharaja Yudhishthira. The world was happy in those days because there were kings like Maharaja Yudhishthira ruled over the world. Hare Krishna Mataji.
So very nicely Prabhupada writes that the king should be a trained person in spirituality. Somebody should train him. Then only, that is why Brahmanas is to train the Kshatriyas. And in this way, Kshatriyas is to rule. But in the modern age, there is no such rule. That is why nowadays, there is a lot of misunderstanding. But somehow we are again saved because we have got a wonderful ruler who is again taking shelter of Lord and is recognized as the best ruler in the whole world. You see Modi ji, he always takes shelter of the Brahmanas. He is following perfect Vedic system. Vedic system speaks about first take the shelter of the Brahmanas, take knowledge and then rule. We see Shivaji Maharaj also. He took the knowledge from his guru, Ramdas, and then ruled. Wherever you go, Chanakya Pandit, he guided Chandragupta Maurya. That is how Maurya dynasty became very prosperous. The Kshatriyas who are guided by the Brahmanas, only they can become prosperous. Kamam vavarsha parjanyah sarva kama dudhamahi shishichu sma vrajan gavah payasoda swatir muda. Kamam vavarsha parjanyah. Oh, this is not the chanda. Kamam vavarsha parjanya sarva kama dudamahi shishichusma vrajan gavaha, 'Oh, 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 So during the reign of Yudhishthira Maharaj, how it was? Kamam, everything needed. Vavarsha, it was showered. Parjanyaha, rain, sarva, everything. Kama, necessities. Tukha, produces. Mahi, the land. Shichi, shuchaha, sma, moisten. Vrajan, pasturing grounds. Gavaha, the cow. Payasaha, udhaswati, due to swollen big milk bags. Muda, because of a joyful attitude. So the clouds showered the water that people needed. Earth produced all the necessities of man in profusion. And beautiful, fatty, milky bag and cheerful attitude, the cow used to moisten the grazing ground with milk. It's very important to serve the cows. Only dharma can protect the cows. So wherever dharma is there, cows are protected. Wherever an adharmic government comes, first thing what they do, they kill the cows. They open a lot of slaughterhouses. The cows are not protected, how goodness will prevail? So here very nicely it has been told that whatever needed, Daivi Shakti, it becomes very pleased. Daivi Shakti becomes very pleased. And that is how whatever necessities are there, everything is in abundance. When the ruler is on the path of dharma. Okay. So there is no shortage of anything. So when is the shortage? When some adharma, the ruler is an adharmic, and the people are also following adharma, then there will be shortage. There, Daivi Shakti acts upon. Okay, Bimla Mataji, read.
Hare Krishna. Kamam Varsha Parjanya Sarva Kama Dudhamahi Sisichu Sma Vrajana Gavah Vayasodhaswati Muda. Translation. During the reign of Maharaja Yudhishthir, the clouds showered all the water that people needed, and the earth produced all the necessities of man in profusion. Due to its fatty milk bag and cheerful attitude, the cow used to moisten the grazing ground with milk. Purport: the basic principles of economic development is centered on land and cows. The necessities of human society are food grains, fruits, milk, minerals, clothing, wood, etc. One requires all these items to fulfill the material needs of the body. Certainly, one does not require flesh and fish or iron tools and machinery. During the regime of Maharaja Yudhishthir, all over the world, there were regulated rainfalls. Rainfalls are not in the control of the human being. The heavenly king Indradev is the controller of rains, and he is the servant of the Lord. When the Lord is obeyed by the king and the people under the king's administration, there are regulated rains from the horizon. And these rains are the causes of all varieties of production on the land. Not only do regulated rains help ample production of grains and fruits, but when they combine with astronomical influences, there is ample production of valuable stones and pearls. Grains and vegetables can sumptuously feed man and animals, and a fatty cow delivers enough milk to supply a man sumptuously with vigor and vitality. If there is enough milk, enough grains, enough fruits, enough cotton, enough silk, and enough jewels, then why do the people need cinemas, houses of prostitution, slaughterhouses, etc.? What is the need of an artificial, luxurious life of cinema, cars, radio, flesh, and hotels? Has this civilization produced anything but quarreling individually and nationally? Has this civilization enhanced the cause of equality and fraternity by sending thousands of men into a hellish factory and the war fields at the whims of a particular man? It is said here that the cows used to moisten the pasturing lands with milk because their milk bags were fatty and the animals were joyful. Do they not require, therefore, proper protection for a joyful life by being fed with a sufficient quantity of grass in the field? Why should men kill cows for their selfish purposes? Why should man not be satisfied with grains, fruits, and milk, which combined together can produce hundreds and thousands of palatable dishes? Why are there slaughterhouses all over the world to kill innocent animals? Maharaja Parikshit, grandson of Maharaja Yudhishthir, while touring his vast kingdom, saw a black man attempting to kill a cow. The king at once arrested the butcher and chastised him sufficiently. Should not a king or executive head protect the lives of the poor animals who are unable to defend themselves? Is this humanity? Are not the animals of a country citizens also? Then why are they allowed to be butchered in organized slaughterhouses? Are these the signs of equality, fraternity, and non-violence? Therefore, in contrast with the modern, advanced, civilized form of government, an autocracy like Maharaja Yudhishthir's is by far superior to a so-called democracy in which animals are killed and a man less than an animal is allowed to cast votes for another less than animal man. We are all creatures of material nature. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that the Lord himself is the seed-giving father and material nature is the mother of all living beings in all shapes. Thus, mother material nature has enough foodstuff both for animals and for men by the grace of the Father Almighty, Sri Krishna. The human being is the elder brother of all living beings. He is endowed with intelligence more powerful than animals for realizing the course of nature and the indication of the Almighty Father. Human civilization should depend on the production of material nature without artificially attempting economic development to turn the world into a chaos of artificial greed and power only for the purpose of artificial luxuries and sense gratification. This is but the life of dogs and hogs. Hare Krishna.
Very clearly it has been said that government should be wonderful. Human civilization depends on the material nature. And for that, the ruler should be wonderful. If the rulers are good, then there will be no scarcity. You see, in the COVID time, everything was scarce. Everywhere it was scarce. But only in Bharata, everything was available. That means some piety is there. Some piety is there. So here, Prabhupada writes, this is but the life of dogs and hogs. Because human civilization, they are too much dependent on the material nature, artificial. Trying to attempt economic development. That means they should be dependent on cows, land, economic development, factories, machineries. They are not going to fill our stomach, which we saw in the COVID time. The countries which were economically developed, lot of factories and IT departments, everything is so wonderful. They were suffering. But those who had land, those who had cows, were not suffering. Even for simple food also, people were suffering. Many countries even became pauper also, because they did not have enough food to eat. They were suffering. Nadya samudra girayah savanaspati virudah palantyoshadhayah sarva kamam anvrutu tasya vai. So nadis, the rivers, the oceans, hills and mountains, vegetables, creepers, and the active drugs, aushadaha. Sarvaha kamam avruttaha tasyaha. So they all, in every season, they paid tax quota to the king in profusion. So they paid taxes. That means they were very active in giving whatever they can. Like hills, what hills give? Hills give a lot of trees. Hills also give us a lot of aushadhi. Jewels. You have nice stones coming out of what comes. Narayana can say.
Hills give us jewels, minerals, all the mineral wealth.
Yeah, when we went to Badri, first I remember it was the first research tour. He and my Shiksha Guru, they're only speaking of rocks. When they see the mountains, they're speaking of this rock, this mineral. So that is what the hills give us, mountains gives us, forest gives us, creepers give. When they see, yes, Our king is so wonderful. Then they pay their tribute in the form of taxes, in the form of lot of wealth. Okay. Narayana, you only read.
Yes, Mataji. Nadya samudra girayah savanaspati virudhaha falantyo sarvaha kamamanvrutu tasya vai. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation: the rivers, oceans, hills, mountains, forests, creepers, and active drugs in every season paid their tax quota to the king in profusion. Purport: since Maharaj Yudhishthira was under the protection of the Ajita, the infallible Lord, as above mentioned, the properties of the Lord, namely the rivers, oceans, hills, forests, etc., were all pleased, and they used to supply their respective quota of taxes to the king. The secret to the success is to take refuge under the protection of the Supreme Lord. Without his sanction, nothing can be possible. To make economic development by our own endeavors on the strength of tools and machinery is not all. The sanction of the Supreme Lord must be there. Otherwise, despite all instrumental arrangements, everything will be unsuccessful. The ultimate cause of success is the Deva, the Supreme. Kings like Maharaj Yudhishthir knew perfectly well that the king is the agent of the Supreme Lord to look after the welfare of the mass of people. Actually, the state belongs to the Supreme Lord. The rivers, oceans, forests, hills, drugs, etc. are not creations of the man. They are all creations of the Supreme Lord, and the living being is allowed to make use of the property of the Lord for the service of the Lord. Today's slogan is that everything is for the people, and therefore the government is for the people and by the people. But to produce a new species of humanity at the present moment on the basis of God consciousness and perfection of human life, the ideology of God communism, the world has to again follow in the footsteps of the kings like Maharaj Yudhishthir or Parikshita. There is enough of everything by the will of the Lord, and we can make proper use of the things to live comfortably without enmity between man or man and animal or man and nature. The control of the Lord is everywhere, and if the Lord is pleased, every part of nature will be pleased. The river will flow profusely to fertilize the land. The oceans will supply sufficient quantities of minerals, pearls, and jewels. The forest will supply woods, drugs, and vegetables, and the seasonal changes will effectively help produce fruits and flowers in profuse quantity. The artificial way of living, depending on factories and tools, can render so-called happiness only to a limited number at the cost of millions. Since the energy of the mass of the people is engaged in factory production, the natural products are being hampered, and for this, the mass is unhappy. Without being educated properly, the mass of people are following in the footsteps of the vested interests by exploiting natural reserves, and therefore there is acute competition between individual and nation. There is no control by the trained agent of the Lord. We must look into the defects of the modern civilization by comparison here and should follow in the footsteps of Maharaj Yudhishthir to cleanse man and wipe out anachronisms. Hare Krishna.
So very clearly here, Prabhupada writes, by the people, for the people, of the people. What is democracy? And Prabhupada says in one place, it is demon crazy. You vote your type of people, some demons, and you say it is all by the people, of the people, for the people. And Prabhupada used to say that it's not democracy, it is demon crazy. Really, if you are for the people, then you will rule justly. You will follow the dharma. If dharma is followed, there is no shortage for anything. Our wealth is actually not the cash, it is the land. Every one of us should have land, cows. That is what the Britishers did. Everybody were having. When Vasco da Gama came to see our Bharat Bhumi, at that time Bharat, our country, he said there is no poor man here. Everybody were having one land, one cows, whatever, land and cow was our property. So then slowly, what the Britishers did was, they had one act, farm act, that this can be only given to Khedut, only villagers. So Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, they were bereft of the land. If you are a Khedut, then you can own a land. That was the policy which was given, which was done, so that many will not have the land, and they will become slaves. And that is how they had the desire of making everybody Shudras. And what is Shudra? Going to office, working and coming back. He has the cash, he has everything, but he doesn't have land. Land is the thing which is our property. Land, cows, they are our property. That is our wealth. But how many of us really have the land? Only few families, they have land. Land is the most important wealth. And it has to be protected. That is how, if we follow material nature properly, material nature protects us. If we try to have a lot of buildings, a lot of industries, nothing is going to work. Land will give us crops, vegetation, can have cows over there. Very important. Okay, so here we'll stop. Any questions you can ask. Any questions? No questions.
So what is to be done, Mataji? There is a
Now nothing. What to be done? Buy a land now. But again, the land prices are so much, a person cannot even think about it. For so much building concept, flat systems have come. The whole strength goes, whole life goes in just buying a flat. And that is, Prabhupada says, that is also pigeonhole. And just for maintaining and procuring this pigeonhole, where hardly you have any space to move.
All are welcome to Nagpur to buy a land. It's dirt cheap over here.
Yeah. And even you have in Boisar also. You can come in Boisar, buy the land. We have the cows. Actually, we have a scheme. We are thinking of, we have planned it. A big land of 17 acres. If every one of us have a small patch of land also, have a small bungalow there, have your own, be near nature. It's very important, be near nature. We want to launch that project. Let us see when the time comes. We have identified, but many devotees should come together. Then it will become a wonderful project near the Surya River. A beautiful project. The devotees can have the peaceful life chant. Somewhere we should have some peaceful life also, always running about, rushing about. Cows, near the nature. And grow Krishna, grow everything Krishna consciousness, grow the whole village. Now the whole village is developing also. Give Krishna consciousness to everyone. Flocking in cities, staying in cities. Okay, that is also wonderful. So that in Naraka also you will be chanting and making others also chant. Okay. So when we launch the project, we'll tell you. Still time is there. Some big man has to come and buy the land and give, then only we can start. Okay. Any other questions? Vaishnavi Prabhupada ki jai.